Ladies, today I'm not here to give you your crown. I'm just here to remind you that you've always had one. You are a queen. Not because the world handed you a throne, but because you were born with purpose, power, and potential. Somewhere along the way, between the expectations, the self-doubt, and the fear of taking up space, you may have started living like a subject in your own story instead of the ruler of it. But that ends today. This isn't just about confidence. It's about claiming your space. It's about waking up every morning and choosing to lead your life with the mindset, the discipline, and the self-respect of a woman who knows she was built for more. Queens don't wait for permission. They don't apologize for ambition. And they certainly don't shrink to fit into spaces they've outgrown. So if you're ready to stop playing small and start showing up for your success like the queen you are, then let's talk. Owning your worth is not just a feel-good phrase. It's a mindset, a lifestyle, and a non-negotiable commitment you make to yourself every single day. It means recognizing the value you bring to every room you walk into, every conversation you hold, every relationship you nurture, and every dream you chase. It's about understanding that your value isn't up for debate, isn't dependent on someone else's recognition, and certainly isn't something you need to prove. It simply is because you are. Too many of us walk through life waiting for someone else to tell us we're enough. We wait for applause, for titles, for promotions, for compliments, for someone to say, "You've made it," as if their words hold more weight than our own. But the truth is, when you let others define your worth, you hand over the steering wheel of your life. You become a passenger in your own story, dependent on external approval for internal peace. This isn't how queens operate. A queen understands that validation is internal. It starts within. She doesn't need everyone in the room to clap. She claps for herself. She doesn't beg for a seat at the table. She brings her own chair, or better yet, builds her own damn table. That's the kind of energy we need to embody. Because the minute you stop waiting for someone to tell you that you're worthy, you become unstoppable. Think about how many opportunities you've passed on, how many ideas you didn't speak up about, how many rooms you stayed silent in, not because you lacked ability, but because you doubted your value. You told yourself you weren't ready. You told yourself someone else was better qualified. You shrank your own presence because you didn't want to seem too much. When in reality, you were never too much. You were simply in rooms too small for your greatness. We've been taught to downplay ourselves, to be humble to a fault, to wait until we're perfect before we show up. But perfection is a moving target, and humility shouldn't come at the expense of your power. Owning your worth doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean walking around like the world owes you something. It means knowing that you bring something valuable to the table, whether that's intelligence, empathy, creativity, leadership, resilience, or vision, and not being afraid to say so. You weren't created to blend in. You weren't born to just go through the motions and let life happen to you. You were meant to rise, to lead, to influence, and to make impact. And none of that can happen if you're constantly second, guessing yourself or seeking permission to be who you already are. Permission to speak up. Permission to try. Permission to take space. Stop waiting. The only permission you need is your own. There will always be people who underestimate you. There will always be critics. That's not your burden to carry. Your job is to believe in your voice, even when no one else does. Your job is to walk with the kind of quiet confidence that doesn't need to shout but cannot be ignored. Because here's the truth. When you know your worth, you don't chase. You attract. You don't convince. You command. And you don't settle. You choose. The world responds to the energy you lead with. When you walk into a room already knowing that you belong, people feel that. When you speak from a place of certainty and authenticity, people listen. But when you walk around unsure, apologizing for your presence, people will reflect that energy back to you. They'll question you, not because you aren't qualified, but because you've shown them it's okay to question you. That ends now. Because you don't need to convince people to see your value. You need to start living in a way that reflects it. It begins with the way you speak to yourself, the way you show up for your goals, the way you hold boundaries, the way you invest in your growth. Every choice you make is either a vote for your worth or a vote against it. When you settle for less, in relationships, in your career, in how others treat you, you're sending a message to yourself and the world. This is what I believe I deserve. So, what message are you sending? What standard are you setting for your life? If you want to be treated like a queen, you must first treat yourself like one. That means doing the hard work. The work of healing, of growing, of shedding the limiting beliefs that told you weren't enough. That means being radically honest with yourself about where you're playing small and why. Is it fear of rejection? Is it childhood conditioning? Is it imposter syndrome? Whatever it is, it doesn't get to lead anymore. Let me be clear, you are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too late or too early. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. But it's up to you whether you stay there or rise. And that rise starts with owning your worth. Not next month. Not next year. Now, stop dimming your light so others feel comfortable. Stop editing yourself to fit into someone else's vision. Stop apologizing for wanting more. You are allowed to desire greatness. You are allowed to dream big. You are allowed to change your mind, elevate your standards, and reinvent yourself as many times as it takes. That's not being difficult. That's being in alignment. And alignment is powerful. When your actions reflect your self-worth, doors open. Opportunities come. Not because you waited for them, but because you prepared for them. Because you did the inner work, walked with purpose, and carried yourself like the woman who already had what she wanted. Even before it up, that's the secret. That's the shift. Acting like the queen you are, before anyone else sees the crown. It's easy to let the world tell you who you should be. It's easy to shrink to fit a mold. But easy never led to excellence. Growth happens when you decide you're no longer available for anything that doesn't match your value. That includes low standards, low effort, and low energy. That includes environments that drain you, people who disrespect you, and thoughts that sabotage you. You are not here to play small. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to fulfill a purpose, to make a difference, and to lead by example. And the only way to do that is to stand firm in your worth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's lonely, even when it would be easier to just blend in and go along, because you weren't made to blend. You were made to break cycles, build legacies, and shift narratives, starting with your own. Every time you choose to speak up, you reinforce your worth. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you reinforce your worth. Every time you celebrate your wins, invest in your goals, and show up for yourself, you reinforce your worth. And every time you decide that you are enough, even when no one claps for you, you reinforce your worth. This isn't about ego. It's about truth. It's about walking in a way that says, I know who I am. I know what I bring, and I don't need anyone else to co-sign that for me to move forward. That's what owning your worth looks like. It's not loud. It's not performative. It's a quiet decision that you make over and over again until it becomes second nature. Until it becomes who you are. You are not for everyone. And that's okay. Your energy won't be understood by everyone. Your vision won't be supported by everyone. Your boundaries won't be respected by everyone. But none of that changes your value. You are still a queen, and queens don't beg to be understood. They lead. Let others doubt. Let others question. Let others walk away. You keep walking in truth. You keep building. You keep growing. And above all, you keep choosing you. Because when you own your worth, you give others permission to do the same. You raise the standard, not just for yourself, but for every woman watching you. You become a mirror for what's possible. You become proof that you don't need to wait to be chosen, noticed, or celebrated to rise. Leadership begins in the mind long before it ever shows up in your actions. It starts with the decision to see beyond where you are and believe in where you're going. Leading with vision means you don't allow your current reality to define your potential. You don't let fear make your choices. You don't wait for perfect timing. You don't sit around hoping someone else will make a way for you. You see what doesn't exist yet, and you move with the energy of someone who knows it's already on its way. That's the difference between leading with vision and leading with fear. One builds, the other begs. When you lead with vision, you become the architect of your future. You imagine the life you want and then take intentional, bold, and consistent action to create it. You don't rely on handouts, you don't chase validation, and you certainly don't apologize for dreaming big. You understand that vision is a responsibility. It's not just a fantasy or a wish list. It's a calling. And when you feel that calling, you can't ignore it. You can't pretend you're okay with average. You can't settle for survival when you were born for impact. A queen understands this. She builds because she believes. She leads because she sees. She takes risks because she refuses to live small. Fear will always be there. It's not going anywhere. But the key is to stop giving it the microphone. Stop letting it drive your decisions. Stop making it the filter through which you view your opportunities. Fear will tell you to play it safe. It will tell you to wait until you have more experience, more money, more confidence, more support. Vision tells you that you are ready to begin, as you are, where you are, with what you have. Fear whispers, what if you fail? Vision declares, what if you fly? Fear is reactive. Vision is proactive. Fear is scarcity. Vision is abundance. You have a choice in every moment. You can either feed fear or feed vision. One will keep you stuck, shrinking, second guessing every step. The other will stretch you, push you, and elevate you. You weren't meant to be small. You weren't meant to wait on the sidelines for permission. You were meant to lead, not when everything is perfect, but now. Queens don't wait for the crowd to approve their ideas. They don't delay their greatness until someone else notices it. They start, they take action. They build with belief and consistency, even when the blueprint isn't clear. That's what real leadership looks like. Not just having a title or position, but having the courage to pursue what others can't yet see. It's being able to move forward in uncertainty with faith and intention. It's choosing to see possibilities where others only see problems. It's showing up not because you have no fear, but because your vision is stronger than your fear. When you lead like this, people notice. Not because you're shouting, but because your energy speaks louder than words. Your confidence, your clarity, your commitment. They all send a message. A message that says, I know where I'm going, and I'm not asking for permission to get there. A queen doesn't beg for opportunities. She creates them. She doesn't beg for respect. She commands it by the way she carries herself. She doesn't beg for love. She becomes love, and love finds her. That's the power of building. When you build, you shift from needing to being. You stop waiting and start creating. You stop hoping and start owning. Building requires belief, and belief requires vision. It requires seeing past your doubts and trusting that your future is worth the discomfort of growth. Growth isn't glamorous. It's hard, messy, and often lonely. But a queen doesn't run from that. She understands that the process is shaping her for what she's meant to lead. She doesn't sit around blaming the world for what she doesn't have. She looks in the mirror and asks, what can I do today to get one step closer? That's what building looks like. It's in the daily habits, the mindset shifts, the choices to keep going even when no one's clapping. It's in the quiet mornings when you're working on your craft while others are still sleeping. It's in the moments you invest in yourself. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Leading with vision means having a sense of direction that isn't dependent on your current circumstances. You know where you're going even if you don't yet see the full path. You trust your instincts. You follow your intuition. You make decisions not based on fear of what might go wrong, but faith in what could go right. You become future-focused. You stop reacting to drama, distractions, and doubt. You rise above. You stay grounded in your purpose. And in doing so, you inspire others to do the same. Because when a queen leads with vision, she elevates everyone around her. Her presence awakens potential in others. She sets a new standard, not just for success, but for self-worth. She builds not just for herself, but for her family, her community, her legacy. She understands that her vision isn't just hers. It's meant to open doors for others too. That's the weight and the privilege of leadership. And when you lead with fear, you forfeit that power. You get stuck in survival mode. You play small, and small doesn't serve the world. There's a difference between reacting and creating. Reacting is fear-based. Creating is vision-driven. When you react, you're constantly responding to what's happening to you. When you create, you take ownership of what happens through you. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what am I being called to do next? That shift changes everything. It puts you back in the driver's seat. It reminds you that no matter what challenges come your way, you still have the power to lead yourself forward. That's what being a queen is really about. It's not about external status or material things. It's about internal power. It's about the energy you lead with. It's about showing up with integrity, courage, and clarity, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. It's about not settling for crumbs when you know you were meant for the feast. It's about building your life with intention instead of waiting for someone else to hand you the blueprint. Every moment you choose vision over fear, you reinforce your strength. Every time you act with purpose instead of panic, you expand your influence. Every time you build something that matters, a business, a brand, a voice, a boundary, you step deeper into your role as a leader. Not just a leader of people, but a leader of your own life. That's where your real power lies. You don't need to be the loudest in the room to lead. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need everyone to support you. You just need vision, courage, and the willingness to take the first step, then the next, then the next. That's how empires are built. Not overnight, not in comfort, but brick by brick, choice by choice, moment by moment. Fear will always try to distract you. It will try to convince you that you're not ready, that you're not enough, that it's safer to stay where you are. But queens know that safety isn't the goal, growth is, impact is, purpose is, and those things don't live in your comfort zone. They live on the other side of risk, on the other side of showing up scared, on the other side of believing in yourself when no one else does. Vision gives you that fuel. It reminds you of who you are, where you're going, and why it matters. It keeps you grounded when the road gets rough. It gives you clarity when the noise gets loud. It pulls you forward when fear tries to hold you back, and when you lead from that place, from clarity, courage, and commitment. You don't just change your life, you change the lives of everyone who watches you rise. You're now using our basic model.